Hello, hello. Welcome to my channel. I'm making this as a follow up to the last two videos that I uploaded that were talking about like you know men needing to pursue women and the way men seem to see looks or care about looks. And This time, I just wanted to talk about the fact that I feel like, and I don't think this is a controversial thing to say, so it's just a discussion that I want to have, just something that I just want to talk about it. How I really don't feel these days that people genuinely are looking for love. I think people are they're looking for something, but I don't think it's love, right? Because even if we go back to the thing of, okay, so men want a lot of times what society promotes as the beauty standard, right? And therefore, pretty much are objectifying the woman, and she's more of a trophy than anything else. He may or may not actually care for her personality, right? But again, when he seeks out this woman, a lot of times, I don't know how much he's really putting into her personality versus the way that she looks. And sometimes, I mean, I've been guilty of this myself, although ultimately it didn't fly. But, when someone is more attractive, you tend to give them more breaks, right? Like I feel like that's a pretty common thing. Someone's more attractive, and so you put up with more than you would with someone that you consider less attractive, because I'd say the amount of desire that you have for this person is high enough where you're just willing to kind of put up with more. But that is so messed up, really, because if what you're looking for is love, a companion, someone who's compatible with you, then, you know, one thing I want to say too is I feel like, because I do listen to a lot of men give, game on other men and stuff like that, give advice to women. And I really respect these men and I really appreciate the fact that they're willing to share the insight of a man, because I feel like that's something that you don't get very often, whether you do or don't have men in your life, right? But um it's like I knew I'd probably get a little bit off topic. I felt like I was going a little bit on a tangent. But my point pretty much is you put okay. There's this thing that the men will say, like, don't just care about looks, or don't care about looks, don't put so much into looks. Um and then, they have these beautiful wives and they say, oh, my wife is beautiful and everything. And I just think it's very interesting how they talk about how you shouldn't concentrate on looks, but then admit that, their wives are beautiful. And I think that's great, right? I think that's important that they find their wives beautiful, that you find your partner attractive to you. But I do feel like there's a certain amount of shaming that goes on for you wanting to be attracted to your partner. Now, I want to think that that's not what they mean, that they don't mean like, oh, just get with anyone no matter how they look, because, obviously that's not what they did. So if that is what they mean, then that's very hypocritical. I would like to think, though, that they just mean if you do find someone attractive, that you're still willing to go for this person because you find them attractive. So don't go for someone you find unattractive, but don't make looks everything either. Like, this person doesn't have to be perfect. They don't have to tick off every box. As long as you can still say that this person is attractive to you, then, that should be good enough as far as the attractiveness part goes. And then beyond that, now it's about personality. But I link that back into the whole thing with people not trying to find love, in the sense of it feels like that's just not what the case is. And even if it is true, right? Even if what people really do want is love, like, aside from societal programming and stuff like that, if people really do desire love, I still feel like, kind of how I alluded a little bit in my live, that the way that things are going in society right now, as far as so much stuff going online, becoming digital, it's really it's really a problem. Now, not everyone is doing that, but I think the more that it's done, the more of a problem it's going to be. Because the thing is, when you meet someone organically out in the real world, when you see them, I feel like it alleviates so many of the issues that you possibly could have if you just see someone online. You get to see, relatively how tall is this person really to you, so you don't have to worry about that lie. You get to see exactly how they look, so you don't have to worry about any filters or bad angles or anything. You get to see this person talk. You get to feel this person's energy. You get to actually get a sense of this person's personality, hear their voice in person. You get to really interact with them, potentially, if you go up to them. But you can at least observe a lot more in person, I would say, on average, unless the person online is someone who does a lot of uh, videos or something. That's a little different, but I still say that's not exactly the same as coming across someone in person. But I say all this to say that the whole concept of meeting someone online, which is, I feel, becoming more and more common as we go more and more into a digital age, and more people are isolated, are antisocial on average because of, everything being on the internet, on your phone. I mean, I think that's an undeniable thing, right? And as people continue to go more to these online sources, everything gets so less personal and so much more superficial and vain. One of the things that happened in the live that I did, I had someone who pointed out that, they have met someone in person and started to like their look because they like this person's personality. They may not have appreciated this person's look before, but because they got to know this person personally, they started to appreciate their look more. And I think that's such an important and beautiful thing that can happen a lot of times. And I, you know, online, it really is so dehumanizing, and it really is so messed up how that can happen, where, you know, you see someone, and sometimes it could just be a matter of this person isn't photogenic. This person doesn't take good pictures, you know? And you just dismiss them because, oh, well, they don't look good in this picture. They could be an amazing person. And they just get discounted because they can't take a good picture. And unfortunately, though, because of the way that online things are set up, you can't blame a person for doing that. If that's all you're provided with, if all you're provided with is a picture and the picture isn't good enough, then where do you go from there? You know, where do you go? There's not really too much that can be said, I feel like. You can't really blame a person, but it's still messed up. And the whole issue with it is that it's online, it's very impersonal, it's very vain, a lot of times primarily looks based, unless again this person is doing videos, they have shown their personalities, their viewpoints, their thoughts and morals. I do think that's a little different because at least in that case you get a better sense of what who this person is and what they stand for. Although I feel like even with that, a lot of times when people go online, they're not their true selves. They hide certain parts of themselves. And, even in person, people can do that, right? But it probably happens even more so online where people are really trying to curate, um, specific ways for you to view them. So it these days there's so much focus on looks. There's so much pressure. I mean, I'm sure there always has been, but again with this new leaning towards digital age and just pictures and phenomenons with like, Instagram baddies and all this, all the promotions of plastic surgery and, I feel like more than ever before both girls and women are not feeling good about themselves. Self-esteem is probably at the all-time low again because of social media. I feel like it's something that you really can't leave out of the conversation because of the impact that it's having on our society. I mean, when I was growing up, uh, you know, smartphones weren't really a thing yet. There was some social media, but not really too much, and it wasn't all that accessible because cell phones, I mean, they weren't even smartphones yet. You still had to pay for text messages. I guess I'm showing my age a little bit, but you know, um, it wasn't really as much of a thing, like when I was a teenager going through school, I can't imagine how that is for people growing up now. If I had to, I mean, I already had my own issues when I was, in high school as far as how I looked and how people perceive me. I can't imagine if social media was more of a thing and I had to go through that. I can't imagine. I mean, I have a cousin and I just happened to see one of her social medias and I'm seeing the way that she's, promoting herself on there. She's younger than me, and honestly, I look at it, or I looked at it, and I really felt bad for her. I really felt bad. I feel like she probably has a certain amount of self-esteem issues, and but I get it though. I get it. I get why she's doing what she's doing, even though I don't agree with it. I think with the way that society is right now, it's expected, even if it's not good. But it's but it doesn't promote the right things. It really doesn't. It doesn't promote getting to know someone. It doesn't promote being able to overlook certain things because people aren't perfect, right? Even people who are considered the beauty standard, they're not perfect. There's still something about them, whether it's looks wise or personality wise or both, that isn't going to be seen as attractive to someone else, something that they would have to work with or overlook or whatever. And that's okay, that should be okay. But what gets promoted these days, especially with social media, is oh, if you're not perfect, that's okay. I'll just find someone else who is. I'll find someone who's better than you. These days, there's so much emphasis on you're not good enough. I bet I can find someone better. You seem pretty good. I do like you, but I'm pretty sure I can find someone better. I was kind of talking to a man at one point, And he essentially said that to me. Now, granted, he probably was just saying stuff. I don't even really think he was telling the truth, but he was saying like, "Oh, I want you to be my girl, blah blah blah. I found this man really attractive and everything." He gave me the impression that he was someone who could get a lot of women, at least based just off of his look. Uh, so I wasn't really. I guess you could say I wasn't really surprised that he didn't necessarily quote unquote want to settle on me, although he didn't even really give it a chance either. But again, that goes into my whole point. He told me, I'd like you to be my girl, but and it's like, yeah, even though he never finished the but, it's like, but you never even really gave me a chance. But you're probably not really considering me because you feel like you can, at least looks wise, do better than me. You feel like, if you were to get with me, you would be settling, at least looks wise, right? You feel like you can get better and I'm not good enough. That's how you feel. That's what the but is. You're saying a lot without saying anything. But again, as hurtful as that can be, I get it, right? Like, I get it. It's understandable because that is the way that society is. And I feel like, unfortunately, there's going to be a lot of good people who get overlooked because there's always this concept of, I can get better, I can do better. Now, with that being said, I don't want it to seem like I'm saying, like, if you do manage to get with someone and they're not treating you right, I don't want it to seem like, oh, you're with this person and you'll never do better, because that's a toxic mindset too. And you don't want to get into that. You don't want to feel like this person that you're in this toxic relationship with is the best you're ever going to get. So you can't let them go. And then you stay in this toxic situation. I would think, or I would hope that you would feel like, I can do better than this. But I would also say that in an instant like that, even if, as a person, you can't do better than that in a sense, right? Like, you can't find a person who's better than that person. Although, depending on what they're doing, the better I feel like is relative and subjective, right? Like, if you're in a situation where someone is abusive to you, whether physically or, verbally, someone being better than them could just be them not doing that. I mean, that already puts them, makes them better. If everything else checks out and then they're not abusive, they are better than that person, at least in my opinion. But even if whatever your definition is, you doing better than that person, even if you can't find that person, you know, I still think just not being with that person is going to be better for you overall and your mental health. So, I do think that that's different as far as when you go in the mentality of, I can do better than this, I can get better than that. But again, I feel like that's different because you're with this person and you just want the best out of this person. Like, you both, in my opinion, should be giving your best. You give your best, they give their best. You both do for each other so that you both can have a beautiful, fruitful relationship that benefits you both. I really think that, that's what the goal should be. That's what you should be aiming for. And if that's not what's going to happen, then, um, it, that probably isn't going to work out. But my point is just, I think, love needs to be at the forefront, but a lot of times it isn't. It's being overlooked, and it's not being overlooked for what I think most people would consider good enough reasons, or even just good reasons, period. And I think that, that's a problem. And, hopefully, honestly, it's probably not something that's really gonna fix itself. It's probably just gonna be certain people who are looking for love and are gonna do the things that need to be done, and there's just gonna probably always be a big group of people who that's not the case for. They're gonna have to stumble into love instead of trying to find it, which can be fine too. But I do think that there's a certain way that you should try to be before you try to find love. But that's a whole nother conversation, in my opinion. But I think I've kind of gone on for a while already. So thank you for joining me this time. I hope you got something out of this. If you have anything you want to add to the conversation, feel free. You don't have to agree with me. You can disagree. That's totally fine. I love hearing other people's opinions and being able to, go back and forth. Sometimes I hear stuff and it really opens my mind to other things. You know, I think being open minded is pretty important. And if we can't agree, we can always respectfully disagree. That's fine too. In any case, enjoy the rest of your day.